Thank you for joining us. As the Executive Director of Asia Society Hong Kong Center, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to tonight's program, which is the third of a four-part series in our MetLife Foundation Asia Society Economic Inclusion Series. I think this series has been really meaningful, and we are really delighted to be partnering with MetLife. It started the series, the first part of the series took place about a year ago. This series recognizes the importance of addressing issues related to reducing income inequality, boosting job creation, and achieving equitable growth. We attempt to provide a nonpartisan, high-level platform where a select group of experts in their respective fields can engage in informative dialogue and debate to talk about economic opportunities. Economic opportunities. I'm sorry. Previously, in April of 2016, we have tackled the subject of using innovative finance to support inclusive growth, discuss how social impact investment can deliver on economic growth, and the transformation of the public sector in solving some of these social issues. Last September, we addressed the issue of access, poverty, and income inequality in Asia, and how government can work with the NGOs and the private sector to find solutions to make economic inclusion a reality. Tonight, we bring four experts from Bangladesh, India, Vietnam, and China, and a moderator here from Hong Kong to talk about social mobility for youth, escaping poverty in developing Asia. And I want to thank MetLife and MetLife Foundation for working with us here at Asia Society Hong Kong to shed light on this very topical and relevant issues. After all, if we don't talk about some of these issues and shed some lights and offer solutions, we are doomed to face a downward spiral of fear and despair. Unfortunately, we're already seeing some of that signs of this despair in other parts of the world, in elections after elections, as well as riots after riots. So on a more positive note, I want to end on a more positive note, is bring your attention to our current exhibition, which brings 11 Hong Kong artists, 10 of them emerging, meaning they are young and you probably never heard of them. These artists are using art to express the pressure of living in this dynamic city and their unique role in it. Whether it is an art exhibition featuring Hong Kong artists or a thoughtful program like tonight, there's really no place like Asia Society. And I want to thank, again, MetLife for their support and all of you for being here tonight. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our chairman, Asia Society Hong Kong Center's chairman and global co-chair of Asia Society, Mr. Ronnie Chan, to get the program started. Thank you.
I'll be short. I'm just here to thank MetLife. When I was young, Asia was poor. Those were the days even the wealthy were not that wealthy. 60-some years later, Asia is considered to be quite well-to-do. There's a lot of wealthy people here. A lot of us can become clients of MetLife, and we can build this beautiful property here as the Asia headquarters of the Asia Society. And yet we often forget that still a lot of our population are still very, very poor. And I remember when my sons were young, they live a privileged life. I want to show them what poverty is like. I don't need to drive long. I don't need to fly long. It took me only an hour to fly to a place where it was so poor that in the downtown of that city, I won't mention the name, you see children similar to the age of my two sons that have hardly anything to wear or to eat. And so Asia continued to be a conundrum. On the one hand, we do have a lot of prosperity, and that's very, very good. On the other hand, we still have a lot of issues to confront. And we thank many of the Western organizations who over the years have helped us, including MetLife. But also, on the other hand, many Asians, now that we are a little bit better educated and a little bit more well-to-do, to rise up and address the issues ourselves as well. So I'm delighted that today, all the speakers come from Asian countries. I think they know the part of the world the best. We have a moderator from right here in Hong Kong, Professor Chen, great to have you. We have a gentleman from Bangladesh. We have a gentleman from India, a country that I visit often. I'm probably there more often than you are. I'm there 6-7 times a year. We have a lady from Vietnam, and then we have somebody who's originally from China, from Shanghai, but now represent a multinational organization, IFC, based here in Hong Kong. So I think that with that cast of characters, no doubt that they will shed light on this issue that will make, hopefully, Asia an even better place in the years to come. I want to thank MetLife again because they have been such great partners of ours. We have many organizations that joint venture with us on this or that, but I think this series is one that is very, very thoughtful. It is not just a brainchild of Asia Society, it is also a brainchild of MetLife. It is something that they feel passionate about. It's something that we like to address. So we are really a wonderful partner, and for that, I want to thank you, Mr. Oliver. So with that, I would like to invite the CFO of metlife-asia, Mr. Lyndon Oliver, to say a few words.
Thank you, Ronnie. First of all, let me extend my warm welcome to everybody here. It's certainly a well-attended event. MetLife and MetLife Foundation are really proud to be part of the Asia Society, in particular this economic inclusion series that has been very interesting to date. It's great to see that we have so many experts in the room. I spent a few minutes with the panelists, and I can assure you, you will not be disappointed tonight. You know, Asia's seen tremendous growth over the past few years, and a lot of people have benefited from it, but really half the population actually has still not caught up with this prosperity. And a lot of those people are the youth. And that's what we want to hear about tonight is it's important on all of us to make sure that we bring these youth along so that this prosperity can be spread across the entire population. I'm very eager. I've heard a little bit from the panelists, and you will hear some very interesting things on how they're making this happen. Let me tell you a little bit about MetLife and MetLife Foundation in particular. In 2013, we started our concept of financial inclusion, and we set aside $200 million, a lot of it being deployed here in Asia and across the world. Our concept of financial inclusion is actually very simple. We want to make sure people understand their basic needs, things like financial terms, how to save, how to handle money. We're not looking for big financial concept. These are the very fundamental things that will bring people along, and that's what we are trying to promote with our financial inclusion series, bringing thought leaders like yourselves together, as well as sponsoring different types of programs across the world. Few of us enjoy savings, but youth are really the ones that have to understand how to handle money, how to save for their futures, how to plan, how to spend, how to budget, all those kind of things. And so youth is what you're going to hear about today. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of programs we've initiated. We work a lot with NGOs, but two in particular that are particularly accomplished. One is Junior Achievement, and this is a worldwide organization that operates in over several countries across the world. And what they do is they provide experiential learning programs for all different kinds of youth. And MetLife provides some of the funding to allow them to do that. But in addition to money, we actually encourage our associates to give up their time to do this. So in 27 different countries, we actually have associates participating, volunteering, and training all these, working with Junior Achievement. In Asia, it happens in Japan, it happens in Korea, it happens in Malaysia, where we have our financial experts going out there and working with these people, training them. So it's more than just the financial support. It's also, we encourage people to give up their time as well. We also work with another organization in India. It's called Savasti. This is a microfinancing firm. And we are all familiar with what happens with microfinancing firms, but we're really focused here on women. And what we found with women who want to start their businesses, their actual have a lot of care for their families, in particular how the youth is developing. And there's one particular story actually that's come to light is where we had this mother who actually came to us with this proposal to start a mobile phone store. They were selling accessories to mobile phones, and she got her son to start the store, and she did all this work behind it. And actually, just lately, we've heard that this store is a roaring success. So it's a very, very small financial investment with a very, very big payoff. So we have to take these victories one at a time, and that's what we're looking to do. So managing cash flow, taking on debt, saving for retirement, all big, big concepts that require young people, and not just young people, actually, all of us to start planning for and make it happen. So there are lots of opportunities out there to create jobs, and what you're going to hear from the panelists tonight is what they're doing. And so with that, it's my pleasure to introduce the moderator for the evening, Yuen Chang. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming despite the incipient weather, and especially to the panelists for coming all the way from where they've come from, respectively. I think we have a really great panel here tonight because we have people who represent a national government. We have somebody representing the private sector who working in international organizations, and we also have representatives from civil society who also work with the private sector. So I think that those are all actors who play a huge part in dealing with the issue that we're talking about tonight, which is how to improve youth social mobility in Asia. I think you'll all agree that every single one of those actors is necessary if we're to find solutions and ways forward for this. So I'd like to invite them onto the stage. Mr. ABM Azad is the Joint Secretary of the Government of Bangladesh and the Project Director of the World Bank-funded Skills and Training Enhancement Project, known as STEP. This is a youth-oriented initiative launched by the Government of Bangladesh in 2009. Mr. Azad. We also have Ms. Pham Thi Tan Tham, who's the Executive Director of REACH, a Vietnam-based nonprofit organization specializing in vocational training and employment, and whose mission is to empower disadvantaged young people across Vietnam. Prior to working in international development, Tham worked in the private sector. Thank you. We also have Mr. Santosh Buvard, who works for YCI, the Youth Career Initiative. Santosh is based in Mumbai. He's been with YCI since 2012, and he is the Partnerships Manager for the Asia-Pacific region, who's also managing existing programs in Vietnam and the Maldives, and is also about to launch some new ones, which I'm sure he'll tell us about. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Jiadi Yu, who leads investments in healthcare and education at the International Finance Corporation, or IFC, across Asia. The IFC is a member of the World Bank Group and is the world's largest multilateral investor in private healthcare and education. And since 2009, Ms. Yu has supported the sustainable development and widespread delivery of private healthcare and education within the region. Jiadi. So we have a great panel, and I think we should get going as soon as possible. I'd like to start with Mr. Azad. So STEP works on providing vocational training. Perhaps you could tell us why the Bangladeshi government believes that vocational training and education is so important for youth social mobility and for solving youth unemployment issues within Bangladesh.
Our education policy is written in such a way that most of the people are interested to teach their kids higher education. And this is actually continuing last 200 years. And this is our, for this, our educated kids, our years are not, when they finish their graduation and coming into the working environment, they don't find any job. And this is a mismatch of our education policy. And just 10 years back, our education policy also, due to this, has been reshuffled, and some very important policy has been inserted in the education policy regarding the technical and vocational training institution. And this is the project. After that, after 2010, the project has been initiated, and this project mainly focused on the technical and vocational education to strengthen our technical education system. At the same time, the curriculum and the educational institutions facilities are increased by the help of this project. This project is funded actually from main fund is from World Bank, and also from Canada. Also, a part of the fund also provided by the Canadian government, and another part is the government itself. And because of that mismatch, and you know, our population structure, the demographic situation presently, it is prevailing. The most of the population, big ratio of the populations are young, and if we do not provide them job, then it will also be a big burden for us. So to face the future consequences, the government is giving highly emphasis on the technical and vocational education.
So the technical and vocational education, which are the major sectors that you're concentrating on?
Yeah, because government has taking, whenever they take any policy, any development activities, they think how the people can be given technical education knowledge. And general educations are now actually not giving any high emphasis because of if we continue these trends of education, actually our young will not be able to get jobs in futures.
Right. And I think I'd like to bring in Tam at this point, because I think Vietnam also has this problem with a skills mismatch, and that employers actually want to employ young people but find that they don't have the right skills. Which areas are those skills most missing in, and what can civil society do to help?
Thank you for your question. Actually, in Vietnam, similar to Bangladesh, we also have a big mismatch between the supply and demand of the labor in the labor market, and especially there's some reasons for that. Also, one of the very typical reasons in Vietnam is the culture. Like there's booming of university and college in the last few years. And the culture in Vietnam, the way of thinking of the people is that they really want their children to go to university or college. Meanwhile, every year in Vietnam, we have about 1.4 million people joining the labor market, but only 27 to 30% of them, they are skilled trained workers. That's also one of the problems, is that we lack of the skilled worker for the economic development of Vietnam. Besides that, current statistics show that about 4 million of the young people account for about 53% of the working youth. They have obtained vulnerable jobs. So it means that we call vulnerable jobs mean low productivity jobs with very low income, with no social security, no labor contract. So there's a big mismatch of the supply and demand. And besides that, especially for the young people coming from disadvantaged background, even they have more difficulties when it's difficult with the economic development. The formal education even become more expensive to them, and especially for some group that we are working with, they even are preventing from those opportunities. For which we cannot solve the whole issue of unemployment in Vietnam, but we are working with people coming from very disadvantaged background. We are working with people living with disability. We are working with people living or affected by HIV. We are working with human trafficking victims. Even for those people, they have a very less opportunity to obtain the skill to enter into the labor market. So we are working with that group, and we apply market-driven model. We have a very close linkage with the business sector. Currently, in 5 provinces, we have about 1,000 businesses engaged into our program from the designing, delivering, and evaluating our program, and also provide job placement for disadvantaged young people.
So both of you have mentioned this mismatch and the skills that the marketplace wants, but which aren't easily available from the labor pool. I wanted to bring in Santosh here because YCI works with the hotel industry. Why in particular the hotel industry, and what are the skills that they are looking for in particular that you will train young people to be able to fill those vacancies?
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Mr. Azad and Tom were talking about the skills mismatch, basically, and Mr. Azad was talking about the academic part. Most of the times, the students wouldn't have sufficient employability skills, and that is where actually YCA is working on. So, typically, what's happening? It's India is not different from that. The students are graduating, they are getting education, but then when they enter into job market, they don't have sufficient the skills required to perform the job. So YCI is the model wherein basically we are getting the employers, the industry involved into the training. So most of the time the classroom training or the training happening in the institute, there is a difference between the training at the institutes and actual on-job training. So we're trying to breach the gap of the mismatch between the skills. So here we are talking about two major challenges. One is the challenge of economy, the youth unemployment. The lot of disadvantaged young people are not able to gain sufficient skills which can give them a respectable job. That's one side. And there are the industries. They are looking at for a lot of people who can perform this job. So definitely there is a skills gap. So what YCI is doing is bridging the gap between the lot of young disadvantaged young people looking for the job and the hotel industry who is continuously looking for such talent. So YCI has chosen a particular sector. So I understand industry is wide one, but then we have identified hotel industry because hotel industry is related to tourism, travel and tourism sector, and travel and tourism sector gives 1 in 10 jobs worldwide. So that's the ILO report. So such a huge requirements, and obviously the people cannot go just like and work in any industry. So it requires the training. And what we are doing, we are involving the employers. So YCI is a training program that happens at the hotel, and the employers are becoming teacher. I think that's a great difference between the training happens at the institute or schools and training happens at on the job live environment, and the learning is faster. Just want to share one experience from India, and it's 2 or 3 years back when I was interviewing one of the employer. Actually, we work with 5-star hotels. We work with international hotel companies like Marriott, Starwood, Intercontinental. But after this training, the students can work anywhere. I mean, the kind of soft skills or the life skills training they will receive at the hotel, I don't think so that will be matched with any other industry, because when you enter in the hotel, you see the people smiling. You see, this is the place where the young people actually learns how to behave with the people, how to interact with the people. So I was asking this question to one of the small town employer. It's a small restaurant, and they used to take the students from, say, the management colleges, or someone has done the course from a very accredited institute. And I asked him, what is the difference you find between a student that has completed the education or done the management or done the course from an institute and YCI. And they said, they are equally, they wouldn't have necessary, information about the theory information or theory part of what they do. But I think they are excellent because the reason maybe because they are learning on the job. And the industry leaders, like, the GMs of the hotel or the director of HR, they share with, they share their experience with them and they take an inspiration. Okay. So for example, Tom would agree with me, one of the GM of, in Hanoi, the GM of Sheraton Hanoi Hotel, he was sharing his experience, like he started from cleaning the floors as a housekeeping guy. And that's bringing us such kind of inspiration to them. If he can reach to such high level, why I can't? So I think that's the benefit of experiential learning. That's the on-job training, and YCI is trying to get the hotels as employer, and non-profit partner like Rich Vietnam is our partner in Vietnam. We are trying to get the skills not only for the students, but then skills match of the hotels and non-profit as well. So non-profit are experts in identifying such youth, and hotels are experts in offering the training which is required. Not only in the hotels, by having the training in hotel, the student can work in any industry, retail, sales. More important, they get some kind of life skills. Technical skills is a part of that. So that's what we are doing. We are involving the employers. So specifically, since I work with the hotels, we are involving hotels into getting the youth, getting their social mobility upwards. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that
it's
sharing.
A long talk, sorry.
That's okay. I wanted to bring in Jadi, actually, because we've heard about how governments can implement nationwide, national level schemes for vocational training and education. We've heard about how smaller scale NGOs can, scale up still and work in many different areas, partnering with industry. But I'd like to hear about, this is quite interesting when we were talking earlier, because we always think that education should be equitable and public and free, and that's the way to help marginalized youth and disadvantaged youth. But IFC actually invests in private education as a way forward in poverty reduction and improving youth social mobility. So could you tell us about how private investment or investment into private education can actually play a role as well?
Thanks for your question. IFC is a private sector arm of the World Bank Group. IFC is also the largest multilateral investor in education sector in emerging markets. The World Bank Group has developed an education strategy for 2020 and proposed a goal of achieving for all. By doing that, the World Bank Group not only focused on the number of enrollments, and rather focus on the skills-based training and make sure the students would gain meaningful employment. To achieve that, the public sector provision alone would not be enough to meet the burgeoning population demand. I think it's critical for the private sector to participate in the tertiary education, in technical vocation training, and even K-12 schools to make sure more students get certifiable skills. So IFC's role is to build up capacity for the private education sector and to provide the skills-based training and to enrich the employment opportunity for the youth and the working adult. One major initiative launched by IFC is globally is E4E, is education for employment in Middle East. And as you may know, that the young unemployment rate in Middle East reached 25%. It's one of the highest in the world. I think that also exacerbated the political situation in the region. recognizing the challenges facing the region, IFC launched this E4E initiative, mainly working with various stakeholders, including private sector, government, and civil society. First of all, IFC provided financing to the vocational training schools in the region. For example, we finance the TVT institutions in Morocco, Jordan, and Turkey, covering each program, covering thousands of students. And those schools focus on the information technology training, focus on tourism, and focus on hospitality and art design. In addition to providing financing, we also provide advisory service to the private sector and also the government to build up the capacity. We actually also doing the same in East Asia. So for example, in ASEAN countries, we invested in cravings. I think it's one of the largest culinary and hospitality group in the Philippines. So they provide the hospitality and cooking training to the local students. And they have trained already tens of thousands of students. And we also invest in financial training program in Bangladesh. And that program provide training to the staff in the local banks, microfinance institutions, and other credit bureaus. We also provide financing to English language training schools in Vietnam, just to meet the huge demand of the language skills by the local youth. In addition to the vocational and education investment in the region, we also focus on the tertiary education. However, our focus is not traditional since this academic degree program. We focus on applied colleges. For example, we invest in Minsheng University in China. It's one of the leading private universities in China. And they offer skills-based and the industry-linked curriculum. They run one of the largest nurse training program in West China, trains thousands of nurses. And that's actually one of the, there's a huge shortage in China in terms of nurse supply. So that actually, so we basically emphasize the skills-based learning and therefore the enhanced employability.
Thank you very much. What we've heard from all the speakers is that is an emphasis on vocational training, on life skills. And yet in Asia, I think definitely in Confucian societies, but also across other parts of Asia as well, many families place a great emphasis on a university education, seen as the holy grail ticket out of poverty. I was just interested to hear how you step up to the challenge of convincing parents that maybe university isn't the best option, and that in fact that if they want their kids to have a future, they need to send them on a different path, perhaps. Mr. Azad.
Yes, I can, thank you. I can share about this. In our society, as I said earlier, it is always parents are interested to teach their students up to the higher education. Whether they have the ability, whether these kids has so much merit over the subject, it is not a consideration to them. And that is a big mismatch in our education policy. After graduation of master's or degree, when they come in the labor market, he don't find any job. And this is the big problem in our, a big challenge also for the government to change the mentality of the society. From my projects, this is the big component in my projects to mobilize the society towards the technical education. We take a lot of seminars a lot of meetings with the parents. Even at secondary level, teachers, we always meet with them, so that teachers motivate the students according to their merits. If the students are capable to get the higher education, they motivate the students, those students for higher education, and those students which are who are not so much merit, they should take technical education. And this is the actually largest part of our education system. So we are always taking initiatives to change this mentality. And after taking these projects in 2010, and we find this thing is actually changing gradually, because it is tough, because the total mentality has set up 200 years. So in our case, it will take time, but the thing is changing.
Is it changing for you in Vietnam as well? Do you see maybe a paradigm shift?
Yeah, so as you know that one of the reasons of the mismatch is of the culture, as also in Bangladesh, the way of thinking of the people. But besides that, I think the fact also make them to change, because currently in Vietnam, a lot of people, they graduating from university or college, but they couldn't find a job, or even they have to work as a worker in the industrial zones, where they don't need the skill or knowledge they learn from university or college. And current statistics show that about 40% of the workers working for industrial zone, they hold college or university degree. So you know that fact also have the people need to change their mind. Yeah, so I think that now recently the vocational training sector start developing more in Vietnam, and also helps to solve that problem.
Because Jadi, you were mentioning like the example in China of the nursing college. What are the other areas where we are seeing a real shortage of labor in the market, and which are the areas that you think that the investment should be going into most in terms of training?
China is a huge market. I think there are several sectors which face a huge shortage of skilled laborers, nurses, senior care. I think and IT related jobs. However, back to your previous question, that I think in China, I think it's also a huge challenge to overcome those cultural barrier to choose skills-based program, even though that means the higher employment rate. I think in China each year there are about 7 million graduates from colleges. The employment rate roughly 30%. But even with that, I think the young people still aspiring to go to the academic program to become white collar jobs. I think 2 years ago, the China Ministry of Education, the Minister of Education actually advocated to convert 600 colleges into applied college. Meaning they're shifting the focus from the academic degree to skills training, like vocational type of education. But that progress has been extremely slow, precisely because it faced the resistance from the existing colleges, from students, from the parents. However, I think one reaction, one measure the government is taking is to basically develop the vocational training along this. To combining the degree program. So in the past, if you go to like say nurse training school, you only get a kind of diploma, and now you actually have an opportunity to get a bachelor degree, or in the future maybe even master degree. So that probably would satisfy Chinese the craving for the degrees, and while also building a really skills-based labor force.
So Santosh, in terms of the skills, YCI concentrates on the hotel industry, but to what extent do you want to make sure that the skills that those young people pick up will be transferable to other industries as well?
Yeah, so I just I mentioned, we were just talking about that. The most important part of the training is basically, it's not about only the work skills, but also life skills. And one of the important element of YCI's training is to give them the life skills. And the hotel industry is basically would be a perfect place for them to learn those life skills. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the student will only work in hotel, but there are some other industry wherein they can work. So we include the training like the financial planning and health education, and how basically how they can work with their colleagues and how to be a responsible employee. Such kind of training we include in this training, and that is useful not only for the hotel sector but for the other industries as well. To just give you an example, one of the student, he was working already, but then he was working in sales, and he was earning sufficiently good amount, but then he wasn't satisfied with his job, discontent in the job he's already having. And I think since we are discussing about the social mobility, this is one of the also reason basically why the social class or social status of the young people is not changing, because they're not comfortable what they're doing, and which leads them to not performing the job really seriously. So that boy found YCI as a perfect program, and he chose YCI as the industry where he can work. And for past he worked for sales for 1 year, but then for past 5 years I see he's working in the same industry, same restaurant. He's been getting promoted, and just share his experience that I'm not going to leave this industry. But he's doing a bit different work. He's in restaurants, but then he's into customer management. He's doing cashier. Is much different from what he learned. So there is always a possibility. So we are focusing on that. So it's not only that the skills they are learning, they're doing that, but then they're finding much more broader perspective.
So apart from giving the young people the skills, of course, we also need to provide the jobs. In terms of job creation and diversifying of the economy, what kind of challenges have you faced perhaps in Bangladesh? I know that a lot of young people actually try to achieve social mobility in Bangladesh actually by working overseas. And that's a very important part of the Bangladesh economy as well. So what can be done nationally to create jobs for these newly skilled young people?
Thank you. Bangladesh is a country of 160 million people. And our economy is increasing, but the economy is not such that all the young people can accommodate in the economy. So our government's policy is the skills will be such so that the young people can accommodate in the country as well as outside the country. Our remittance is a big source of our economy, and it is actually second largest source of our in our economy. So government always promoting the technical education at the level of world global standard. So it is a big challenge for us. So that's why we are changing our curriculum of the technical and vocational education. The others facilities are creating accordingly so that our young people accommodate globally, nationally, and also globally. But it's a big challenge because overnight we cannot change everything. But according to our national skills development policy, if we complete the targets of that policy, I think our young people will be able to get job in country as well as in the outside our country.
So you have the additional challenge, apart from meeting the needs of employers in country, you're also having to do your research and find out what the international economy requires as well. That's a double challenge.
So a double challenge for us, because our country is not capable all the people accommodate. In future also, we have to face this challenge. So our planning is that our young should be a global standard, technically sound.
And perhaps in other countries across Asia, in Vietnam and other places where YCI works, hopefully a lot of the jobs that you mentioned are service industry jobs, and a lot of the trainings are tiered towards service industry. I wonder if there are others as well, other areas that you want to explore and branch out to help young people with, maybe in terms of entrepreneurship skills or in IT or technology.
I want to share our rich story about job creation, because with Rich we are working with people coming from very disadvantaged background, and we focus on vocational training and employment for disadvantaged youth. And one of the problems of the mismatch of the supply and demand in the labor market, because of the linkage between those TVET provider and also the business sector, because you know that who create jobs, those are business, the corporate sector, especially in Vietnam with the economic development, and also we attract a lot of like a foreign investing companies, and also a lot of companies in Vietnam provide outsourcing service to other countries. So there's big demand in the trained worker, but because of the very low linkage between TVET provider and also those business sector, so people who attend those TVET providers don't equip good skill to match with the requirement of those employer. So for Rich, we try to solve that situation by create a linkage with the business. Currently, we are operating in 5 provinces, and we have about 1,000 business involved into that process. They involve from help us to do market scan before we starting any program. We try to really understand the need, the requirement of the market, and so really understand the need of the young people we are working with, and also during the curriculum development, we also engage the business into that process to make sure that we provide the curriculum that match with the requirement of the market. And we also apply flexible curriculum. It means that because you know that the labor market requirement keep changing all the time, so we also keep getting feedback from the business. And we keep changing with the change of the labor market. And also, besides that, we also try to get them into the feedback process, because with Rich, we not just provide training, job placement, but we also have a 6-month follow-up and support to make sure that our graduates get job and stay in the job, and make sure that at least 80% of our graduates get job and stay in the job after graduation. And also I want to share with you one specific case that recently we also opened 3D training, and everyone said that it's difficult for you to train young people in 6 months to do 3D job. And currently in the market, in our market, the people graduating from 5-year architecture doing that job. But because we have a very strong engagement with the business, we have a foreign company who provide commitment to help us to train the young people in 6 months to do the job. And with that kind of engagement and with very intensive training, and within 6 months, we just focus on train the young people with the skill that they really can apply to the job right away. And after 6 months, right after graduating, more than 80% of them get employed directly by that German company. So you know that is a mutual gain process. So it's good for the young people, good for Rich, we can achieve our mission, and also good for that business. And especially for that kind of job, we can supporting young people living with disability. And in this July, with support from JP Morgan, we also start our coding program. And everyone said that within 6 months, it's difficult for you to train the young people to do coding. But we have a strong belief that when we really understand what the market needs, and when we have a very strong engagement from the business sector, we can do that job. Yeah.
Santosh, do you have anything to add on that? Especially the follow. I think what Tam mentioned about follow-up is very interesting and very important. And I know that you guys also follow up on your students, right?
Yes. Yeah. So we do follow up. We track the impact of what impact YCI has bring on to the life of the student, and we do that. I would like to share one student story with you. It's my favorite one. There are a lot of to share, but this one is close to my heart, and this basically shows the change not only within the student but with the family. With the with the industry. When we talk about social mobility, the economy itself can't be can't bring this social mobility, and there are certain factors we need to see what economy is doing. So first one is how many jobs are generated, then if those jobs are really qualitative for the ones who are already into the jobs, and how it is, how it is mutually benefiting, how inclusive that it is. So I always talk about the inclusiveness of whether this is a really win-win situation for all the partners and the students. So I was talking about the girl named Pala. Actually, she got trained from one of our hotel in Mumbai, and she was, I think, barely learned class 12, and her family was working in a construction site, earning less than $40 a month, and that was actually really low income to maintain the family of 5 people. So she was having her brother as well, who was earning $160. I'm converting Indian rupees in dollars, but then you can really convert them into Hong Kong dollars to understand how that it could low be. So her brother was earning, but then the money would go to maintain his own family. He was having wife, children, so it was difficult really, and her education was also supported by one of the NGO, and she couldn't study further. And she done this course, YCI course. When I was involved actually in the operations of the program, so I met her before the program. I could see she was very shy girl, and I couldn't have really imagined that what she could do. Maybe end up doing some small job at the hotel, maybe in housekeeping department or like that. But I met that girl after a year. So YCI is a 6 months program, and she did again 6 months internship at the same hotel. And I came to know from the mentor at the hotel that she's working in a bakery. So she's choose specialization of bakery. And I met and gone one day to meet her because I heard that she's been doing good. So for us, obviously, success stories, to collect success stories, and we go and meet. And I was amazed to see her. She was actually instructing 2 fellow guys how to prepare a cake. She was a team leader. And I actually was so surprised, such a shy girl. She was still shy, but then she got such a team leadership, team leader skills, and she was managing 2 guys. And she was coming from so conservative family. Her mother wouldn't let her to go in hotel industry. So just to give you a background of Indian hotel industry, the Indian parents would still think that hotel industry is not good, especially for girls. So she has opposed her not to go in hotel industry and work. But when asked, what is your achievement? She was earning equal amount to her brother, who otherwise would invest that amount to maintain his own family, not on his parents. And she was earning equal amount. and she said that I'm happy to investing almost 95% of my salary to my family, but this was very emotional to me. The earning of salary is not really important to me, and I can stand myself to my brother. And I think, that was a very great statement she made, and that's the transformation we really see. And that's one of the story closest to my heart I wanted to share with you, and what changes and what such transformation we can bring into getting the employers involved into this transformation.
Thank you very much for that sharing. And actually, that brings me to a question that I really wanted to ask, except we're sort of really running short of time, and I want to open it up to questions from the floor. So I'll put this question out there. You don't have to answer me yet, because I think I'd like to hear the questions from the audience. But I did want to mention about what you think that the impact of gender has in terms of youth social mobility. I know that the Bangladesh government, in your project, for instance, you offer stipends to encourage young women to take part. To encourage, yeah. So maybe the audience might want to take up that strand of questioning as well, because I don't really want to take away your time. I'd like to thank you so much, all of you, for all your contributions so far, but we're not done yet, because we're going to take questions from the audience. So anybody has a question? Yes, okay, that gentleman there in the middle. And then, yeah.
Hi.
Okay.
As a member of the youth, not the South Asian or Southeast Asian youth, I'm interested in, especially when you talk about mobility, we've seen, at least I feel, this global trend in labor towards part-time jobs, the quote-unquote gig economy. And how do you protect, or not protect, but what are some things that you've seen or want to do for youth and workers in developing countries that kind of reinforce the idea that we need full-time employment that's long-term with benefits and upholds that value and protects them from global trends that we are feeling in New York and Hong Kong and other places?
Would any of you like to address that? The impact of sort of the future of work, essentially, the way that the nature of work has changed. So we don't have iron rice bowl or, a full-time job, and increasingly part-time jobs without labor benefits and protections. How do you see that impacting on youth social mobility?
Actually, in our country, part-time job is not the intention of the government. Government always think the young should be accommodated in a job that continue his whole professional life, because changing environment is not actually very much interested in our country. But in global context is different. Those who have the capability to work in the global environment, they can change their job. The mobility may be the higher than inside our country. So our curriculum is running in such a way that the people, these young after graduation, always interested to be to get the permanent job. Mobility is not very interested in our society.
There have been examples like in our programs that students, after doing the course, would be working some part-time jobs. But yeah, that's been not really evident on, really seen on that they're going for the part-time jobs. But of course, particularly the hotel industry, wherein we are investing into, working into it, quite a long times it demands also long working hours, and such mentality is created with the students from the beginning that this is really demanding industry, and you may have to work for longer time. But then I think as the time passes, the people become seasoned in their own roles, and in that I think they can demand their own working, working style. They can demand, I would work for these certain hours. But then hotels also, act in. There are countries wherein they get hourly paid, but at least in India, I don't think in Asia actually that culture is, and there are generally long working hours.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for what you've shared. So the panel talked a lot about the mismatch of skills and what the government needs to do, what the education sector needs to do, what parents, society, and culture as a whole. But what about the private sector, right? Surely they are the key beneficiaries here. And why do we expect higher education's primary purpose to be to create perfectly packaged, workers ready on day one to arrive on a doorstep, rather than the primary purpose being developing well-rounded citizens and thinkers? And I know Santosh and Pam talked about collaborating with business, but it was still businesses and hotels relying on NGOs to help them, deliver this training and develop these skills. So how do we get private sector to step up, do more on their own, or is that too idealistic?
I think we are doing that. I mean, it's not only that the non-profit will be, of course, in YCI model, basically it's an innovative partnership. It's an innovative model. It's an innovative program. That's how it works. So in YCI, we work with the hotels who basically is responsible to deliver the training program, to plan and deliver the training program. They are responsible to deliver the program. And non-profit partner, they are experts in their own role. They know the community. They know the community. They will get the required eligible young people. So obviously the hotels would not find themselves an expert in terms of identifying such youth. So, and YCI, as I represent YCI, my role is to get the partners together. Otherwise they don't know each other. They don't know how to work with each other. So my role, YCI's role, would be to get the partners together and establish a local structure to locally owned, so that the partner can take the shared responsibility. And it's basically to resolve the local issues of the young people. So yeah, and in YCI what we are doing, we are involving the employers who can train the students. So it is kind of transferring the skills, transferring the knowledge. In hotels, the senior people like general managers, director HR manager, who mingle with or talk with the student, who exhibit their own example, like how did they study it. And again, going back to examples, I shared the story of Pala now. There is one more story I would like to share of Dipanshu. Basically, his response when he finished the training was not that he got the job or he got the payment, but basically he said that previously my friend circle was really, they weren't good people, they were bad people. I had a bad company, but when I joined the YCI, I met good people, I met managers, and I adopted their thought process, and that changed his life. And his mother also used to say, previously we didn't include him into the family matters, decision making, but then we found him to be very valued member of the family. It's because they have learned from the people, they learned from the hotels, how they behave, how they act. So I think the private sector is taking the role to shaping the lives of the young people. It's starting slowly, but then the people are really taking interest.
Maybe Jadi, you could add something. Should the private sector be the ones who are paying for the training of the workers?
Yeah, actually, I think the private sector is doing more to bridge the skill gap. For example, in China, many the corporations collaborate with universities, being public or private, to set up a tailored program to train the students and to develop the skills which actually needed by this prospective employer. And some corporations, they even set up their own training program. For example, some private hospitals set up their own nurse training program. Some senior care facility operators set up their own, develop their own senior care operator and caretakers. And actually, that not only happening in China. I visited Myanmar a couple months ago because I think the Myanmar now, the private sector is also burgeoning with a huge demand, and especially in the healthcare sector, there is a severe shortage of nurses. So I visited 6 top-tier private hospitals. So each of them are planning to set up their own nurse training program. So I would say when facing challenges, the private sector probably is the one reacted most quickly and most effectively.
Thank you. I'd love to hear a bit more about the specifics of the skill mismatch. I'm curious particularly whether it's a skills mismatch or whether it is just a lack of skilled labor overall, a shortage of skilled labor overall. I mean, we heard a bit about how there's a nursing shortage, so it would be interesting to hear in each of the countries represented here, what are the exact skills mismatch? Is it that students are becoming engineers, but the economy demands electricians, or is it that there's a lack of both, a shortage of both electricians and engineers? So that's one. And if I may add, I'm also, as you were speaking, I was also thinking, if there is indeed a shortage, does the labor market wage reflect that? Are we seeing an increase in wages in areas where there is a shortage? Because that in itself, an increase in wages, should help guide the educational path that people take. And in my experience and observation, wages in developing countries tend to be extremely sticky, even in shortages.
That's very correct. So I think the major challenge in particularly in India or in the South Asian, in Asian countries is, for these young people, their mentality, it's the technical education is available, but then Tom would agree with me. It's basically, it's really difficult for them to keep interested into the program. And since they don't finish the program, they don't get the skills and resulting, getting along with the job. So one of the major challenge for industry as well as the non-profit sector is to make the students aware that it's for their benefit, and they're going to benefit out of this, and we basically are helping you to get out of the vicious circle of poverty. So it's the very nature of the young people that they are very of whimsical mind. They have a lot of options. They don't know what to do, and I think giving them a guidance in such period, in that particular period, and helping out to choose their career, I think that's one of the challenge and the role that the non-profit sector is doing, and industry is helping into that. So I would say that's the challenge. And about the wage, it's been really moving slowly, but then that is because the demand of the industry, and then they don't get such required skill that what they're looking at from these young people, and that's the mismatch.
Anybody have any more specifics? Which specific areas are skills most lacking?
I just want to add some more points about the supply and demand mismatch in the labor market. For example, in Vietnam, there's a lot of people really want to do like a finance, accounting, or IT. But meanwhile, you mean that like a lot of people, like a supply is so big, but the demand is not that big. And besides that, a lot of people, they are trained the skill that they not match with the skill the requirement of the labor market. And also, besides that, there are some areas that not have enough demand, not have enough supply for the demand. So yeah, so that's a different reason like that in Vietnam. Yeah.
We're kind of running short of time, and we have lots of questions. So I think, should we take the 3 questions all in one go, right? And then you can answer them rather than is that okay? Yeah. So maybe this gentleman, did the lady next to you, behind you want to, and that gentleman there. Okay. So we'll take 3 questions, and then yeah.
So I just want to ask, just maybe like in 10, 15 years' time, how automation will change the structure of our current job markets, and how maybe a different strategy approach in regards to training is needed. Yeah, that's it.
Hi. So, you know, I was very encouraged to hear that there are companies that the nonprofits are working with in order to ensure that there are employment available. However, I'm just wondering, it sounds like it's more a one-on-one kind of approach. So what can we do to help the industry as a whole to move faster on this front? I recognize that there are areas where, you know, for factories, right, a lot of them are scared to hire young workers because they don't want to be cited as in risk of non-compliance. So what can we do to help them get over that fear and to really embrace it? Because I mean, in countries like Vietnam, right, there's a huge labor shortage. But instead of tapping into the young workers, we're looking at expansion of migrant workers, right? So how do we help address that issue?
So other members of the audience have asked this question in various ways. So I'm going to ask this in a general manner. Assuming that there is a persistent skills gap means that there's a structural problem in the labor market. And whether that's the private sector doesn't want to pay for the training, or wages are sticky, or information costs are too high, so people don't know that that there is a demand for technical skills. There's a structural problem in the labor market. So I guess in short, the general question is, what is that structural problem?
Okay, so we have 3 questions. The first one is about how is automation, increasing use of robots and machinery, going to change the need for labor and therefore training, right? The lady asked about how do we scale up and move things along faster to employ more people. Is that the gist of it?
You're afraid of being, how to get over the structural concerns of employers being afraid to hire young workers because of risk of being cited for non-compliance.
Okay, so how to get employers to overcome their fears of employing young workers for fears of being punished for non-compliance. And the third question is, what is the structural problem in the labor market?
Very straight one.
What is the structural problem in the labor market that is the reason why there are these skills gaps, etc.?
Yeah, I would just, I would start with the last question. It's the structural problem, I guess, is, it's the expectation of the employers and the vocational trainings that we do in conventional institutes or colleges. That really doesn't matter. And where basically I want to get all these concerns all together. Involvement of the involvement of the industry itself into the industry. So I think that's what we are doing at YCI. We are involving the industry, we are involving the employer into the training process so that the structural problem really gets resolved during the training. So that the mismatch which was Mr. Azad was mentioning about, that the student after graduating, after education, they find that, oh, there's still a mismatch between my skills and what is expected out of me. I think many companies basically are starting their own institutes like Marriott has, supporting some NGOs to set up the institute. Some hotels in India have their own institutes, which basically ensures that the skill gap wouldn't be there, because it's straightly coming from the demand, from the demand market, that we need these skills and you produce this. So I think involvement of the employers into the training methodology would be a resolution to the structural problem. And about the automation we are talking about, that's a challenge. At one side, the machines will replace people, but then also that creates additional job opportunities. If I really want to give example of latest mobile technologies, say, so mobiles are adding up new technology, but then that's adding up to new skills, like the people would require to do, suppose, new applications, programming in Android. So that's creating a altogether new skill set. I think that's very dynamic and challenging. And again, here the role of industry comes into picture, that industry will tell us that what is those changes, what we require, and how the training and the industry requirement can match up. And industry actually coming into the education and facilitating this, I think that would really sort out the issue.
Just I want to add something with Santosh.
Okay. No, you can go ahead first. Yeah.
Actually, the rapid changing of the labor market is vary from country to country. In our country, actually, it is a challenge to increase the enrollment of technical education sector. This is the first challenge for us, because there is a mismatch in our education system. Because we have to change the mentality of the society also. Because if we do not change the mentality in terms of the technical education situation, then things remain as it was. So this is the first challenge for us. But in developed country, this is something different, because they have already developed at level. And in the developed country, the rapid changing is another challenge. So in our country, to increase the enrollment of the technical education is the first challenge, and also the main challenge, also another challenge, to accommodate our youths with the changing situation also. We have to change our curriculum. We have to create a lot of facilities for the young generation, so that they can compete with the latest change of the technology, latest change of the labor market, demand of the employer. So in third world country, in a developing country, it is a two-way challenge. So we have to we have to change our policy. We have to create a lot of facilities for the next young generation.
Quickly take the automation question. Some experts estimated that even 40% of the existing jobs might disappear in the future decades because of the automation. And we already see that many low-skilled labor work has been already replaced, by a computer. For example, in China, I think a lot of the large warehouses are now completely operated automatically, and the previous workers, the staff have been laid off. I think that's just. I think that's the challenge we're facing, and that's the reality we have to accept and adapt. That only make the learning the new skills, upgrading skills, even more pressing need. I think. We obviously say that the lifelong learning, I think we need to continue to upgrade the skill sets, and probably even in the more kind of creative field, which you have some competitive advantage which will not be replaced by robots. I think that's the only way to go.
think on that note of lifelong learning, I'm going to have to call it a day because this is a fascinating discussion and really great questions from the floor. I don't think we've really answered all the questions, but unfortunately we're already over time. So I'd like to thank all of you very much for asking your questions, and of course to thank the panelists ABM Azad, Famtitan Tam, Jadi Yu, and Santosh Buvard. Thank you so much.
I think we should also thank MetLife Foundation for making this available. Without you, we won't be here. A lot of the meaningful discussion will not be had, and we in Hong Kong certainly should hear these things. So thank you once again, Mr. Oliver. I do have some presentations, some gifts to be given to the speakers. So would you... the reason you get a different one is because you already got a book.
I have.
Okay?
I already have
so,
a book.
Shabbat, thank you, thank you. It's very heavy. And you can buy one downstairs in the bookstore if you like. You don't get one.